I am 97 years old, and I need to tell you something that most people will not say out loud. Right now, somewhere in your mind, there is a fear you carry around like a stone in your pocket. You touch it late at night, when the house is quiet. You wonder, will I end up in one of those places? Will someone else decide where I sleep, what I eat, when I wake up? Will I become a name on a clipboard instead of a person with a life? I know that fear because I carried it too, and I am sitting here today in my own kitchen drinking coffee. I made myself at 5:30 this morning because I did something about that fear instead of pretending it did not exist. If this is the kind of honesty you have been looking for, I want to ask you a small favor. Hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Not for me. I am 97, but there is someone out there right now who needs to hear this before it is too late. And the only way they find it is if you help push it toward them. Let me tell you about my best friend, Lorraine Jeffers. We met in 1968 at a church potluck in Hendersonville, North Carolina. She brought a sweet potato casserole so good, I asked for the recipe, and she told me she would take it to her grave. That was Lorraine. Sharp tongue, warm heart, proud as the day is long. She had been a third-grade teacher for 31 years. Could quiet a room of 8-year-olds with one look and make every single one of them feel like somebody. When her husband, Carl, passed in 2003, something shifted in her. It was not sudden. It was like watching a hem come undone, thread by thread, so slow you almost do not notice, until the whole seam is open. She stopped going to bridge night, stopped answering the phone on the first ring. I would drive over to her house on a Tuesday afternoon and find the curtains drawn, the porch light still on from the night before. I would knock and say, "Lorraine, come sit outside with me. The dogwoods are blooming." And she would say, "Dorothy, I am just tired today." Every visit, she was just tired. Her house started falling apart, in small ways she did not notice or did not care about anymore. A loose step on the front porch. A rug curling at the corner in the hallway. No grab bars anywhere in the bathroom. Nothing to hold on to when her legs were not steady. I told her more than once, "Lorraine, let me call someone to fix that step. Let me get you some bars put in." She waved me off every single time. Said she was fine. Said I was making a fuss over nothing. Then, one morning, in February of 2007, she slipped, getting out of the bathtub. Broke her hip clean through. Her daughter, Patricia, flew in from Charlotte and made the decision in 72 hours. 72 hours. That is all it took for a woman who had shaped the minds of over 800 children to lose the right to decide where she lived. The last time I visited her was at that facility on the east side of town. She was sitting in a wheelchair by a window, wearing a sweater I had never seen before. It was not hers. Nothing in that room was hers. The bed was not hers. The schedule was not hers. She looked at me with those tired eyes and said, "Dorothy, I did not think it would happen like this." I held her hand, and I thought, it did not have to. What happened to Lorraine happens to thousands of people every year, and it almost never happens because someone got too sick. It happens because nobody planned. I decided, watching my best friend disappear into a system she never chose, that I would not follow her. So here is what I have learned in 97 years. And I want you to listen carefully. Because every one of these things is something I did myself. First, you have to move your body every single day. I do not care if it is raining. I do not care if your knees hurt. You move. I ran my own alterations shop for decades. Callaway stitch and mend on my feet 10 hours a day. Carrying bolts of cloth heavier than you would think. When I retired at 70, I knew if I stopped moving, my body would think we were done. So every morning after coffee, I walk. Some days it is around the block. Some days it is just to the mailbox and back. I do my own gardening. I hang my own laundry. You do not need a gym. You need to send your body one message every day, and that message is, we are not finished. Second, you have to prepare your home while you are still strong enough to make the decisions. This is the one that got Lorraine. When I was 74, I walked through every room and asked myself, if I were weaker, if my balance were not what it is today, what in this house would hurt me? I had grab bars installed in the bathroom, loose rugs replaced with non-slip mats, a railing added to the back steps, every hallway cleared. It cost me less than $800. $800 to keep my independence. That is the best money I ever spent. Third, your brain does not care that you are retired. If you stop feeding it, it starts to starve. After I closed my shop, I joined the library reading circle. I learned chess at 79. I am terrible at it, but every time I sit at that board and try to think 3 moves ahead, my brain has to work. I do the crossword every morning in pen because pencil is for people afraid of being wrong. I taught myself to use a computer at 82 because my granddaughter said I could see her baby's pictures online. A sharp mind is not a luxury. It is your armor. It is the thing that makes people treat you like a person instead of a patient. I want to pause here and ask you something. Where are you watching this from right now? What state? What country? What little corner of the world? I ask because it brings me real comfort to know these words are landing somewhere they are needed. Fourth, loneliness. I need you to understand that loneliness is not just a feeling. It is a sickness that moves slow and kills quiet. After my husband Walter passed in 2005, this house became so silent. I could hear the hallway clock from every room. I noticed something terrifying. I was starting to not mind the silence. That is the danger. So I made a rule. I talked to another human being, face to face or voice to voice, every single day. I call my grandson Michael every Thursday. Bridge at the community center on Fridays. I volunteer reading stories to children who do not care that I am 97. Loneliness is what makes your children start to worry. And that worry is what makes them say, maybe she would be better off somewhere with people around her. You fight loneliness the same way you fight a loose hem. You catch it early and stitch it back together before the whole thing falls apart. Fifth, your paperwork. I have a green folder in the top drawer of my dresser. My daughter, Anne, and my son, James, both know where it is. Inside is my will, my power of attorney, my medical directive, my insurance information, and a letter in my own handwriting that says exactly what I want and what I do not want. Because when there is no plan, your children are standing in a hospital hallway at 2 a.m, terrified, and they make the easiest decision, not the best one. You cannot blame them. They love you. But they do not know what you want because you never told them. Sixth, and this one takes courage, you sit down with your children and have the conversation nobody wants to have. You look them in the eye and say, here is what I need from you, and here is what I will not accept. I did this with Anne and James on a Sunday afternoon in 2010. I made pot roast because difficult conversations go better with good food. I sat them down at this very table and I said, I love you both more than anything in this world, but I need you to hear me. I am not going to a nursing home. I have a plan. I have my house ready. I have my papers in order, and I need you to promise me that you will respect what I have written down even when it is hard, even when you are scared. Anne cried. James sat quiet for a long time and then just nodded. But they both promised. And every year since, we sit down together and go over that green folder. We update it. We talk about what has changed. Because life changes, and your plan has to change with it. Now here is what I saved for last. Because this is the thing that would have saved Lorraine. The biggest threat to your independence is not your body. It is not your memory. It is silence. Most people end up in nursing homes, not because they became incapable, but because when the crisis came, nobody knew what they wanted. There was no paper, no conversation. In that vacuum, other people decided. The most important document you will ever have is not your will. Your will handles what happens after you die. Your advance directive handles how you live. It says who speaks for you when you cannot speak for yourself. It says where you want to be. Write it down. Sign it. Give copies to your children, your doctor, your lawyer. The difference between ending up where you chose and where someone else chose for you is one piece of paper. Lorraine never wrote hers. Now I want to speak directly to you, and I mean you, if you are already in your 70s or 80s or 90s, and thinking it is too late. It is not as long as you are breathing and choosing. Tomorrow morning, take a walk. Even if it is just to the end of your driveway, call someone you have not spoken to in a while. Ask your child to help you put your papers in one place. Write down what you want for your life, even if your handwriting is not what it used to be. Look at your bathroom and ask, is this house ready for me at my worst? A grab bar costs less than $20. A non-slip mat costs less than $10. Small things keep you standing. It is not too late to start. I am 97. I have buried my husband, my best friend, more people than I care to count. But I am still here, in my house, making my own coffee, watching the sky turn pink from my porch. That is not luck. That is a choice I made and kept making, stitch by stitch, the same way I used to mend a dress. You find the weak spots before they tear. You reinforce what needs reinforcing. You never wait until the fabric has come apart to pick up the needle. The fear you are carrying, that stone in your pocket, you do not have to carry it anymore. You just have to do something about it. Start today. And if this gave you something you can use, subscribe and share it with someone you love. Because somewhere out there, someone is sitting alone in a quiet house, carrying that same stone. And they need to know, it is not too late to put it down.